Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build a mangrove swamp house. This gorgeous house is surprisingly simple to build and makes use of the wonderful new packed mud bricks and mangrove wood and looks right at home in the new 1.19 mangrove swamps. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video where I'll show you how I go about decorating this kind of house. The materials you'll need for this build will be on your screen now. Don't forget you may need a few more mangrove logs depending on the terraforming you need to do to fit your house on the lake. Here is the layout for today's build. You can see that there are only points marked here as those will be where the posts are going. Now you can place in some markers like this to help you build as we'll be covering them up with blocks. And each of these posts are 3 blocks apart except for the gap at the front where there is a 1 block gap. Now you'll see for this tutorial I'm building my house in an artificial pond, but you can build this house in any body of water or even on land. You just might need to change the height of each of the stilts to fit your terrain. We're going to begin our build by adding in our mangrove log posts. Now I'm going to build up to the height of the water here and then an additional 2 high on all of the main stilts of the build, so leaving out these 4 at the front. So I need to build up 4 high, but you might need to build up less or more depending on your terrain. Once you get to the height of 2 above the water though, the rest of the build will be completely the same no matter where you're building it. Next we're going to work on a platform to put our build on, and for this you'll need oak stairs and oak slabs. So I'm placing the stairs like this and then an oak slab in between, and I'll do these between each of the joins of the mangrove logs. Once you come all the way around like this, you can fill in the rest of the center with some oak slabs. There we go, that is the base of our swamp house. Next we'll be adding in some more mangrove log posts, this time on top of the platform for the house, and these are going to be a total of 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 2 at the front like this, then going along the side of the build. Then I'll come 2 along the back as well. Come 3 blocks across, 1, 2, 3, so that's here, and there should be a 3 block gap between this post and the log here, and then 1 in the corner. So you can see from above that this is an L-shaped building, and then you should be left with some open deck around it. We're going to go in with some more mangrove logs now on top of each of these here. And then where we've got these taller posts where the house joins onto the platform, we're going to come out with a mangrove log like this. Here's how it should look so far. We'll be using packed mud for our walls, but we'll start by adding in a layer of mud bricks around the bottom like this. Now I'm going to leave this 3 wide space open for a door. I'll continue round and then I'm going to leave a 1 block gap here for another door. On top of this we can go in with our packed mud, and I'm going to be creating little upside down U-shaped sections with a 2 high gap for our window. When you get round to this open side here, build across the top like this, so 1 down from the very top of the posts, and then add a layer of mud brick slabs underneath. Put in my final window here, and then I'll put in a location for the door. To finish off the height of these walls, you'll need to place in some more mangrove logs, this time horizontally. I've got a few more mangrove logs to add here on each of the corners and the joins between the posts and the beams. And then I want to add a beam connecting these two posts here, and that should leave you with a square section and a rectangular section. Now I'm going to switch to some packed mud to add in our gables and the second story. Now for this front gable here, I'm going to add a mangrove trapdoor window to begin with. Then I'll come to either side and place a block on top of the trapdoor. And for the second story, I'll begin by placing a one high layer of the packed mud in the rectangle shape like this. Then I'll switch back to some mangrove trapdoors to marker my windows. Now these are placed 2 blocks in from the edge, so here, 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 and here. And so that should be above these 2 windows and centered on the front and the window here. Then for the 2 ends, I've got 2 high windows, once again centered. Now I can go ahead and fill in this wall 1 more high. And then I want to create a gable just like this one on the ends. So I'll go another block higher, here and here, and then place 1 more on top of the trapdoors. And this is what you should be left with. Now that we've got the second story in, it's a good time to add in your floor. Now I'm going to come back and add in a ladder later when I decorate, so I'm just going to fill in the whole floor here, and this should be at the upper level of these mangrove logs here. Now I'm going to start work on this little platform at the front because we've got the main structure of the house down. So once again, I'm going to build up to the height of my water. And then I'm going to build 2 on top of that. So these logs should be sitting 1 below the logs there. Now I'm going to switch to some oak stairs, and like we did here, I'm going to create the same pattern but 1 block down. So that's here. And then I'll fill in the rest with some oak slabs. Look at how our house is coming together. It's time to start adding some details. The first important detail to add is the roof. There's no point having a house if there's no roof on it. So I'm going to start on this little roof, and you can see I've placed some mangrove planks in these 4 locations, and then I'll switch to some mangrove slabs for the rest of the roof. So for this roof, I'm going to create a slight slope like this. So that's our front gable, and now I just want to connect it up like that to the back of the build. Now I will be covering up the top half of this window, but I like how you can see down into the bottom story through there. Once I've got those slabs in, I'll finish off this raised section of the roof by adding in 3 more slabs. This also covers up the mud bricks. For the larger roof, I'm going to start with some mangrove planks, and I'll build all the way across the top of these windows here. And then, just like we did on this lower roof, I'll begin by placing in some more planks here, here, here and here on both of the gables. Now I'll switch back to some slabs, and I'm going to start by filling in the middle section of the roof. I'll come back to the gables at the end. Once again, I'm going with a slight slope here, just building up in slabs at a time. Then I'll place my slabs on top of each of these mud blocks. And now we can work on the gable. Now for the gable, I'm going to place a stair facing inwards on either side like this, and then I can place in the rest of my slabs. And see how it creates this nice curved shape? And I'll do this on the other side as well. Here's how our roof looks. We'll also be using some of the mangrove slabs for details on top of each of these posts. For the railing on this build, I'll be using jungle wood, as that has a similar sort of tone to the mud blocks. So for each of the sections, I'll place a fence on either side and a fence gate in the middle. For this one here where we're going to have a walkway, I'm just going to leave out the fence gate, and then I'll continue my way around the build. I'll also be using these fences to create a covered area. So I'll build up 3 high here and add an additional 2 on top of this fence. And then I'll be using campfires to create the covered section of the build. You can use a shovel or a water bottle to put these out. I'll also place a campfire down the front here, and then I want to create another covered section over this door. Now for this one, I'll be placing in jungle fences on a little L shape like this, and then I'll come out 1 on top of that and then fill in 2 back, connecting up to the walls. We'll be using these jungle fences elsewhere in the build. I'm going to be putting them on these logs here, building up to the height of the roof from the 2nd story. And when you come round to the roof here, just place in 1 on either side as if there was a log below, so you can make sure that this one is in the right space, as it should be 1 block away from this window. I'll also be placing fences underneath each of these logs. I'll skip these ones as I can't place anything underneath there, but I will be placing 1 in here. I'll also be using some jungle trapdoors, and I'm placing these on the bottom of each of the posts. I'll skip this one as I can't place anything there, but I will put some trapdoors here and here. And now I'm going to switch to some oak materials, starting with some oak slabs, and I'll be joining up each of these log sections like this. I won't be placing anything in here, as I won't be able to place them above these campfires, so it's best just to leave it free. But I will be grabbing some oak buttons and placing them on each of the logs. And as well as that, for a bit of detail above the windows, I'll be placing in some oak trapdoors. I'm also going to place 1 above the door. Continuing work on the windows, I'm using grey stained glass panes, and I always find it easier to place my glass panes from inside the build because you can get to all of the windows much quicker. While I'm in here, I'm going to grab my mangrove trapdoors, and I'm going to create a little archway door like this. I'm using placeholder blocks to be able to place 1 at the top. And I like the way this gives an open door kind of feeling. Back to decorating our windows, I'm going to add some spruce trapdoor window shutters, and these are going to stick to the left side of the windows all the way around the build. Now for some of these, I'd like to have the trapdoors open, so I'll use a placeholder block, like that. And sometimes I'll have just part of the trapdoors open. I'll mix it up as I go around the build. I'll also use these spruce trapdoors to place some details underneath each of these top story windows. And with the windows decorated, I'm going to move on and use some spruce down here on the entry to our build. So I want to create a little bridge, and to do this, I'll place a spruce trapdoor and a spruce slab, and this gives a nice walkway up to our house. And then I also want to create a little boardwalk. Now for the shape of this, I want to come across from this log here, 3 trapdoors, and then I want to come out and another 3 trapdoors this way. But on this log here, I only want to come out 2. And then I'll fill in this gap here. Now I like it when all the trapdoors face different ways, and I also think it's nice to have dimension by placing some of the trapdoors underneath like this, and then some of them on top. There we go, that looks great. Down here on the boardwalk, I'm also going to place some oak buttons on the corners of each of these logs. And for some detail, I'm going to add a barrel or 2. And some lanterns. I might even place one down here. I'm also going to place some lanterns up around this part of the build, hanging off of our canopies. So I think I'll have one here, and one here. And then I want to have some hanging off of the roof beside the windows. That'll illuminate the build wonderfully. I'm also going to place one here on this gable. And don't forget to add a door to your build. Now I'm not going to be adding one here as I want the open flow into this outdoor living space that we're creating, but I will be placing one here, and I'm placing it from the inside so it creates a little door frame around our wonderful mangrove door. Now let's have a look at how we can furnish this mangrove house. So here you can see I put my mangrove swamp house in a mangrove biome, and it's out in the middle of the lake so you can reach it using boats. As we come up, I've put some decorations on these balconies, so let's have a little walk through to give you some inspiration. I think having barrels and bits and pieces all over the deck here is a really nice touch. And over by the fire, I've added a little potted propagule as well as a seating spot. Let's have a look inside. As we come into the front door, the first room we enter is the kitchen. Now I've tried to include everything you need in survival. So we've got our stone grinder here. We've got a cauldron and a furnace. And if we look up in the top, I've got a crafting table, a stone cutter, and a loom tucked away. And the other things you'll need for survival are tucked about the house. If we come through these banners, we go into a living space, and I've got a dining table here. Oh, hello banners. And a little seating spot, and you can see that I am using a smoker here as a fireplace, and this looks really good if you grab some raw food and then some fuel. I'm gonna just use some coal and pop them in here. It gives a really nice fire effect in a small location. Now you can see throughout the space, I've tried to keep the color scheme similar to the build. So I've used lots of greens, browns, and neutral colors, and I've even used these lovely green frog lights. I've got paintings and item frames on the walls, which gives the build a fuller look. And I've tried to define the spaces with furniture. I've even got an armor stand tucked in the corner here, making the most of all the space. Now let's head up this ladder and have a look at the top story. So I decided to decorate this floor as a bedroom. So I've got a little office space over here, and oh my goodness, I have a little visitor. Hello, Mr. Frog. And if I come over this side, I've got my little bed, and there's lots of storage tucked about this house. Now I've used some carpet on the floor up here to cover up the frog lights, and the frog lights also give a wonderful illumination to the space. I've used a mixture of lighting as well as those, including torches, lanterns, and candles to give our mangrove house a really lovely ambiance. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and got some inspiration for building with the new 1.19 blocks. If you'd like some more inspiration, check out the tutorial in the description down below. I hope you consider subscribing, it really means a lot to me, and if you'd like to support me further, check out my Patreon. I'll see you in another video!